What's up everyone, it's Evan here from Survivalist Gaming, and I recently contacted Endnight Games to see if I could ask a few questions about some of the stuff the community and myself have been wondering. Although they're very busy, I sent Anna, one of the devs, a list, and within a few days she got all of them answered. There's lots of great information here, and I thank everyone over at Endnight Games for their time, and I'm looking forward to doing additional coverage in the future. Now, there is quite a few questions actually that I got answered, and I didn't actually expect to get this many, or this much information from so few people doing so much work. Now, the reason we haven't been seeing a whole lot of extra gameplay or screenshots is because it takes a long time for them to do when there are only so few people working on such a big game. And as easy as doing videos seems, it's actually a lot more complicated than some people think. So, I just figured it'd be a little easier to get a bit of information from them by asking some questions. And we seem to have done quite well with the information I sought out for. Now, first question. How do you intend to handle the natural wildlife? Their answer. Most of the wildlife isn't a threat to you, but animals in the woods add a lot to the immersiveness of the game. Owls hoot in trees at night, seagulls down by the beach will peck away at the sharks' corpses, turtles will swim away or lay in the sand, lizards will wander about and climb trees or rest on a rock. Just lots of different immersive things that you don't really see in most games. Like, most animals are just kind of like set on wheels almost, where they don't interact with the environment as much as you would expect them to. Now, next question. How long is the day and night cycle? The answer. We started off with quite sorry about that. We started off with quite short days, but over time, as we added more and more things to do during the day, we've been slowly lengthening the days. We find an exact length as a setting we constantly tweak as we get closer to an alpha release, and we expect it will change a lot during the alpha. Next question. Can you shed some light on the inventory system? The answer? We have a full 3D inventory system. Players open their in-game backpack and can take items from it. So, from my understanding, that means we don't just have a flat screen that we operate from. It's all in-game, like it's actual, like kind of like real life, where you open the book bag and you actually have to take the item out, which is, once again, it's something that I haven't really seen done before. Next question. To what extent does the fire spread? To houses, to trees, etc.? The answer. Fire will spread depending on the wind and the environment. It will burn down structures as well as bushes and trees. It's mostly a damp forest with frequent rain, so it won't be possible to burn down the entire forest. Next question. Can mutants destroy the structures you build? And the answer? An enemy will try to destroy the structures you build. You can also destroy your own structures and regain some of the resources you've used. So, they will try to. It might mean that you can stop them while they're trying to do so. Question. Will there be rivers and streams? Answer. We currently have a bunch of lakes in the surrounding ocean. Water can be used for a few different things in the game, from hiding briefly to escape enemies, or as a way to wash blood off yourself after a battle. So that means that the current state of your character actually stays. It's not just kind of like a 5 or 6 second little filter, I guess. Next question. What does the weather affect the ocean? The answer? We have a tide system that will rise and fall each day, but we don't currently affect the wave size due to the wind, but it's something that could be added eventually. It's also possible for players to build watercrafts, things like houseboats or a raft. Also, having a changing ocean would offer a bunch of gameplay possibilities. Sorry about that, I'm kind of reading it off the page, so I might get a little awkward at some points. Next question. Will the AI counteract strategies you use repeatedly? Meaning, will they catch on to certain traps and tactics if you use them too often? And the answer? This is something we're still balancing. Enemies can be aware of traps and things that you place around the world, but it can lead to frustrating gameplay if they always avoid the player's tactics. Which would make sense. Like, there's always that balance between fun and realism. That's one of the main things in a lot of realistic games that they have problems with. Making it still fun when it has a certain level of realism. Next question. Will the player be restricted to one home structure at a time, or will they be able to build where and whenever they please? Now the answer. They can build wherever they like and can currently build as many as they like. You're going to be limited by the time it takes to build these structures and resources. We imagine most players will build a single base and try to improve it as much as possible, although some may wish to build several mini bases around the world. Next question. Is there currently any limit on how much you can build? Answer. You're limited by the available resources in the world, but we don't currently stop players from building as much as they like. Question. Excuse me. You've elaborated a little on just how violent and dangerous the combat in the game is. Will each weapon do what you would expect to when you strike an enemy? Do bladed weapons actually cut them, or is it more of a system like Skyrim, where they have an overall health? And the answer. A lot of different weapons affect the enemies in different ways. Hitting them with a stick will be a lot different than swinging an axe at them. We're trying for a sense of realism with their violence, and we want players to have to beat them with a stick and then have to use a rock to smash their skull in, just because it isn't a higher damage weapon. Players can also build different traps, so we can expect most players to use a combination of traditional weapons, luring enemies into traps, and using world elements such as fire to get the upper hand. Question. Do enemies react to where they're hitting accordingly? Meaning, does it actually look like you're hitting something where you're hitting it? Answer. This is something we're actually working on currently. Getting hits to feel real and meaty is very important to us, and part of this comes from separating hits from the upper and lower body and really making combat feel alive and dynamic. Will there be ways to engage single enemies quickly? Like one good shot to the back of the head? Answer. You can stealth kill enemies from behind with a rock. It's a pretty good strategy when they're not in a group. Next question. As a guy that's usually apathetic to any AI, let alone the enemy NPCs, do you think the Forest will still instill a feeling of empathy and terror? Answer. I hope so. More than anything, we're just trying to do something interesting, something different than other games when it comes to our AI's NPCs. We become attached to these creatures as we develop them, so what we see as a heartwarming image of one of the creatures holding and helping another, some people may view as bizarre and scary, because they seem so human, but they're obviously far from normal human beings like you and I. Next question. Also, how unpredictable is the AI behavior? Will I be saying, wow, I've never seen that yet, even farther into the game, or will I have a general understanding after a few days of playing? Answer. As the AIs get more and more desperate, there will be changes in how you tackle them. Having a sense of progression over time as the game develops, and even as far as who you're fighting in the later part of the game, is something we're really focused on. So, you can expect to see how you deal with the enemies to change how they react, I guess. Next question. Will there be weapon and tool degradation? Or will they break down over time? Answer. We had this in originally, but we haven't been able to make it not frustrating in the game. In the middle of a fight, and finding your stick breaking because you spent too much time hitting plants with it ends up just being frustrating. It's possible weapon degradation can make a return at some point, if we can get it working smoothly and without the frustration, which is something a lot of games have a problem with. Games like Dead Island and Dead Rising, you always find a cool weapon, but it never really lasts. So, next question. Are there poisonous plants and berries that can be hazardous to the player herself if he or she is careless? Answer. Yes. Players will have to know which berries or mushrooms to eat and which to avoid. Whether or not you can use them as poisons, I'm not entirely sure. That was my answer, not theirs. Question. Will the game be taking a traditional save file approach, or will it be some type of penalty system when you die? Answer. There will be saving. Currently it's a save anywhere system, but it'll probably be switched so it's only possible to save at your fire or shelters. There's also a permanent death mode. Will you be able to camouflage your house as well as traps? Leaves can be collected from plants and bushes to create camouflage and only use them on certain items. So you can use plants to camouflage stuff, but it's limited. Question. Does the player gain experience and skill from doing certain things? Example, the more you run, the faster and longer you can go? Answer. This is one of the systems we're still working on. Is it true there's a chance you can trip if you're running too fast? Answer: no. I think it's an interesting idea, but one that would be really frustrating in practice. Question: will you be giving earlier access to coverage sites before the public alpha launch? A: probably. Question: can we expect to see longer cuts of non-spoiling gameplay in the future? Answer: we really want to get the game into a bunch of people's hands and let them make videos for YouTube. We think that's probably a better way to show off longer gameplay than having us make extended videos. In our trailers, we're really trying to get across a version of the entire game in a minute or two. So, that means they really want to get people doing coverage on it instead of having to take the time out of the schedule working on it themselves, which I can understand as they're such a small team, and usually when you get bigger games, they have entire staff sections just promoting the game. So it's a big difference between indie developers that rely on the community and some of those other massive titles. Last question. How is alpha development going, and how excited are you to get the game into the public? Answer: it's going really well, and we're constantly adding and improving things. As a small team, development moves really fast, and new ideas can be done really quickly. We're excited about the alpha release, and we've been asked a lot about the exact release date or just to release the game as it is. But before releasing the alpha launch, we want to be in a place where the team can push out regular working builds and updates this team without breaking anything. I think the best early access games are the ones that frequently update after their first release with new features and fixes, and the team wants to make sure that the project is in a state where that's possible. So they don't want to release it in a state where it's completely unplayable, or every time they try to add something it will get broken. They want to make sure it's stable enough that everyone will be able to play it and still enjoy it, even in its alpha state. So there it is. I hope you all found it interesting, and I apologize if any questions you had weren't answered, but I felt it would be better to keep it relatively simple at the time. If they allow coverage sites and YouTubers like myself to get hands on it before launch, I will answer the questions all I can by testing them out personally. Within reason, no spoilers, and etc. That way everyone down at Night Games can work away without having to take the time to do all those extra videos. Believe me, it's a lot more time consuming than some people might think. I'm Evan here from Survivalist Gaming, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and comment, and yeah, I hope you're all as excited for this game as I am.